So we're going to kick off this part of the session by thinking a little bit about learning for sustainability. Learning for sustainability is the umbrella term that we use for sustainable development education, outdoor learning, global citizenship and social justice. As you'll see from this word cloud, it encompasses a huge range of themes and approaches across all forms of education, both formal and non-formal. From listening to Jason earlier and from watching the video, we hope that you can see lots here that relate to learning for sustainability. We see many connections between Men's Shed, STEM, learning for sustainability, and the principles of community learning and development. And moving on, we just thought we'd highlight as well the global goals. So the Sustainable Development Goals are a collection of 17 interlinked global goals which were designed as a blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. Sustainable Development Goals were agreed by the UN General Assembly in 2015 and they're intended to be achieved by the year 2030. These goals are broad and interdependent and they recognise ending poverty with other deprivations must go hand in hand with strategies that improve health and education and reduce inequality and spur economic growth, all while tackling climate change and working to preserve our oceans and forests. So when carrying out pieces of work in your setting, it can be helpful to look at the Sustainable Development Goals and identify links to specific goals depending on your project's outcomes. And we hope you can see lots here relating to the work that Jason's told us about in the Men's Sheds. Also, we thought we'd like to highlight the Community Empowerment Act, as it's been a hugely helpful vehicle for change within Men's Sheds, especially in terms of asset transfer and allowing sheds to access and take ownership of unused buildings. Wider community and council support for Men's Sheds is an important factor when dealing with the ownership of control of land and buildings, as sometimes different people in different roles within councils and communities can give approval for asset transfer and things like that. So it's a really important act in terms of Men's Sheds and progressing forward. Susan, I'm going to hand over to you.
Thanks, Julie. I'm sure you're already thinking about, there's maybe some ideas sparking off about how you could link up with your local Men's Shed to benefit your learners. The last section that we're going to move on to is about that impact on individuals and communities. And there's a whole host, as you can imagine, and we've just got a slide here covering some of them that Jason's already touched on and he'll go into in a bit more detail. But that impact on the individual man and then their family, their friends, the partnerships that the sheds have across nationally that the association has, but also the local partnerships. And we'll give you some examples of those. The community partnerships, partnerships with schools, with local community groups. Again, we'll give you some examples for that. Economy, the kind of value for money aspect of all this, which we'll touch on too. And the environmental side of things. Julie mentioned learning for sustainability. And again, Jason will give some examples of sheds who have had a real focus and done lots about recycling and reusing and lots around that. Before we move on to the last section and Jason, we've just got another video for you, which we filmed just prior to the most recent COVID restrictions. So we managed to sneak this in just before the end of 2021. And this was filmed down at the Shed of the Year in Inverclyde. So enjoy. It just gives a bit of a snapshot of a shed in action and mentions some of those partnerships that we're going to talk about in more detail.
Hi, I'm Bruce Newlands. I'm the current treasurer of the Inverclyde Shed and was previously chair for the first 3 years of the Inverclyde Shed. I'm a working individual and I was really just looking for somewhere to kind of spend some spare time. I work for myself, I work from the house, so I wanted a wee release, to kind of, normally guys go down to the bottom of the garden into their own shed, but I'd heard about the Men's Shed network and found out there was one starting in Inverclyde, so got involved. It's quite a wide range of things happening in the Inverclyde Shed, so it can be anything from making pens through to making boats. We kind of cover everything. It really, you bring your interest along and you'll find people that share that interest and want to get involved and help you. I think for people coming along to Inverclyde Shed, the basic thing is just human company. So it's friendship, over a cup of tea, having a blether, working on a project. Over and above that, there's also kind of sharing of knowledge and skills and ideas. And this transposes not just in the workshop, but also in the gardening that we do. So we like to kind of pay back to the community, whether it's making things for other community groups or growing food for the local community pantry. I think winning Men's Shed of the Year has really brought a huge sense of pride to us from our own community. It's been important that kind of confirming that what we're doing is right and it's important and that people value it.
Memorial cross from St John's Church in Union Street in Greenock. One of the parishioners that was put up in memory of her father, but it was going to be a bit weather beaten, so they asked if we could maybe take it back and restore it. So what we're busy doing here at the moment is taking all the old varnish off using card scrapers, an awful lot quicker than trying to sand it. And this is only just an hour or so's work on it, and we're down to the wood already on the big portions. Andrew's busy finishing off some of the corners and such like. I don't know if you can actually see it in camera, but it's actually starting to come up quite nicely. Once we get it all stripped back, we're going to a few more coats of varnish on it before taking it back down to the person. So working with these things it's quite satisfying working with your hands again, not just doing things. You don't need to think about anything, you're just working away and you can get into a rhythm.
My name's Eddie McGeown. I'm an ex-welder and I've been a member of the shed now for about two and a half years. I came along because I had some personal injuries and I couldn't apply my trade anymore. I got into a bit of a rut, get advice to come and introduce myself here, and it was the best thing I ever done. At the time it was almost about 100% woodwork orientated, but it turned out when I introduced myself and they asked me what I had done as a job, they said they had 2 welding sets in here and they never knew the top from the bottom. So I rigged them up and it's just a wee metalwork sections expanded through there. So I come along and do wee projects, making a couple of table legs here. And eventually it might be a case of other people want to learn a wee bit of architectural metalwork and stuff like that. So mainly because what I get out of it is massive physical and mental health. You know, you've got something to get up for in the morning, you've got the company, the creativity, learning, watching what other people are doing, people watching what you're doing, and everybody showing an interest. You get a great deal out of it.
One of the big projects that we've been working on, so we've installed 20 what we call small growing spaces in schools right across Inverclyde, from Weems Bay to Port Glasgow, and we've just received funding from the National Lottery to install another 14 of them. So we're almost covering the whole school estate in Inverclyde, where we've got ongoing partnerships where we don't just put the growing spaces in for them, we help show them how to grow things as well. So it's showing kids the importance of locally grown food, the skills involved with that, and also the patience involved with it as well, that it's not a quick win, it takes time. So we try and plan things around about their curriculum. So things are planted when they're in school and they harvest them when they're still in school as well. And it's great fun at the same time as well. Well, welcome to the Inverclyde Shed's Show Street Garden project. It's a community garden based in Gourock. It's where we grow lots of vegetables, where people can get a little bit of their own time, so you can work by yourself or you can work in teams here. We put the produce to our local community pantry, so it goes for free, so that vulnerable people can pick up fresh veg. And we try and grow all sorts of different varieties down here that maybe stretch what people expect. So we've in the last growing season, we've had 15 different varieties of tatties growing here. A lot of them kind of heritage varieties like Shetland Blacks and Arran Victories. But we've also got fruit trees, we've got brassicas. It's the start of December and we're still growing here kind of thing. So for me, this outdoor space really provides it's a different type of space to the workshops. It just allows you to kind of get out in the fresh air and really keep busy during months where the shed might be busier with other people.
Hi, I'm Charlie and I come down to the garden every couple of days or sometime every day. Bruce, the supervisor, sends me a list and he comes down as well and we work together. Tidying it up, keeping it looking decent for the community, and of course picking vegetables and taking it to the pantry at Grieve Road. For me personally, it's lovely and relaxing. It gives me something to do. Anything's better than sitting in the house all day twiddling your thumbs. You're out in the fresh air. You're getting job satisfaction, but knowing you're giving something back to the community and not just taking. And I just love the fact that just being out in the open really. And that's what I like about it. Shed's a great organisation. It's helping a lot of people, meeting people, talking to people. And sometimes that's the best medicine you'll ever get, is sit and talk to somebody. But yes, it's most enjoyable. And I love coming down here and doing it.
I live in high flats over there, that big white window. That's my kitchen. I see everything from there. And that's how I saw this garden starting up. When I was first here, this was supposed to be a secret garden, quotes. It was actually shrubs, trees, bushes, brambles and rubbish and ivy. A whole mass. There have been more things happening here and more community involvement, you know, to keep it going and build it up. People can see it from the streets now, and it's no longer a secret garden. I can walk down that wee path there, and I come through the garden, the George Wiley garden, and it's totally accessible, you know.
The Inverclyde Shed has been really fortunate with a number of high-profile funders, mainly the National Lottery, but also the Cora Foundation and Foundation Scotland as well as local funders like Amazon and the Inverclyde Community Fund. Where that's went is it's really allowed us to do all these activities helping our community. It's funded all these things, and it's culminated in a community asset transfer of a large 4,000 square foot shed, which we've now got a lease for 25 years on at £1 a year, and £500,000 funding from the Scottish Government to renovate it. So we like to think that we're putting something in place that's going to last generations in Inverclyde.